What is going on, everybody? Today I will be previewing the Rose Bowl between Alabama and Michigan, which is the first of two semifinal playoff matchups. I already previewed a couple New Year's 6 bowl games, so go back and check them out if you haven't already. But the only New Year's 6 bowl game I won't do a preview for is the game between Liberty and Oregon. I just didn't have the time to do it. I wanted to do it, but unfortunately I didn't have the time, and I have other videos planned this week, so the Oregon versus Liberty game will not be uploaded. But to be fair, we all know that Liberty is going to get blown out, or at least we assume that's what will happen. But imagine if they actually win, because there's no guarantee Oregon will win. But the game should be lopsided. But today we are talking about the Rose Bowl between Michigan and Alabama, and tomorrow we will preview the game between Texas and Washington, so be sure to tune in for that video. Then sometime next week, I will preview the national championship game, so I'm definitely excited for the playoffs this year, and we have some big videos planned, but it will be interesting to see what happens. But before I do get into this video, let me remind you to like the video and also subscribe to the channel so you never miss an upload. If you guys love college football, then this is definitely the channel for you, because we post a ton on this channel, and we do not plan on stopping anytime soon, as we are now on the road to 1,000 subscribers. So thanks to everybody who has subbed, and we have big things planned for the year 2024, and I love making these videos for you guys. And I hope everybody enjoyed the Christmas, and be sure to set new goals for 2024 because it is a new year. But without further ado, let's preview the Rose Bowl game between Alabama and Michigan and give my prediction on the outcome of the game. And let's start with talking about how amazing this matchup has the potential to be. You got two powerhouses with a lot to prove, and you could say Alabama as a whole really doesn't have a lot more to prove. I mean, look at what this team has done under Nick Saban, and look at all the national championships and playoff success that they've had. They really don't have much more to prove in the Nick Saban era. But obviously Alabama is not done yet, and there is always more football to be played, and they are now back in the playoffs after beating the number one team in the country, Georgia, who was back-to-back national champions. And now Alabama has a chance to beat the number one team again, which would be Michigan this time. And this is nothing new for Nick Saban. I mean, if you look, he's actually 8-2 against teams that are ranked number one. So that's an interesting fact. And Nick Saban is very dangerous as an underdog, so don't underestimate Alabama. And I doubt there's many people who will underestimate Alabama. So maybe Alabama has accomplished a lot, but there's absolutely no ceiling for Alabama football, and they will only keep winning and trying to get better. But will they win this year? I don't know. I guess you have to wait until the end of the video to know my prediction on the game. But for Alabama to get to another national championship, they will need to go through a Michigan team that is the number one ranked defense in the country. And they're a team that really has a lot to prove. And they may have their backs against the wall with all the cheating scandals and not having their head coach half the season and losing in the playoffs twice already. But there's no denying Michigan is a very scary team at the line of scrimmage for offense and defense this year. Their defense is first in points per game, and their offense scores 36 points a game, which is among some of the top teams in the country. And they are possibly the most complete team in the country. And despite all the cheating scandals and their head coach being suspended half of the season, they still managed to dominate all season. And if anybody can beat this Michigan team, maybe it is Alabama. But don't count out Michigan to finally get the job done and win a playoff game for the first time and get over the hump of losing the playoff games, because maybe they'd learn after already losing a couple times. It just depends on how bad they want it. But I mean, look at Ohio State. They keep repeating history, and they have now lost 3 straight to Michigan. But Michigan had a lot of returning guys this year. Quarterback J.J. McCarthy is back, and their running back Blake Corum, and a lot of key defensive guys. And this team looks better than they did last year. So they might just be a completely different team, and they won't fail to win the big game in the playoff. But it should definitely be an interesting game, and it's actually a hard game to predict in my eyes. And both of these teams are going to be hard to defeat. And these two teams might just be the actual two best teams in college football. But I could go on and on about how big this game is, and everything that is on the line in this game. But let's actually talk about some X factors and key guys that will make an impact in this game. And let's start with looking at what Alabama needs to do to win this game. And honestly, it starts with stopping the run game and stopping Blake Corum at the line of scrimmage and forcing Michigan to pass the ball, which means they will have to be tough on the line of scrimmage, and their front seven is going to have to play how they did against Georgia, possibly even better. And then in that case, I would say absolutely Alabama has a shot if they can play how they did against Georgia, or even better. But Michigan has struggled to pass the ball in some of the big games. But honestly, they didn't really need to pass it when you got a running back like Blake Corum that has some of the best guys in the country blocking for him. I mean, look at what they did to Penn State. They completely controlled the line of scrimmage and ran the ball down their heads and didn't throw a single pass in the second half. So that Michigan rush attack is dangerous. because they also got a guy like Donovan Edwards backing him up. And he can run the ball very well for being a backup. But if Alabama can stop that rushing attack, or at least make it tough for Michigan, then that will force Michigan to pass the ball. But that Michigan passing attack isn't all that bad, because J.J. McCarthy is very efficient, and he actually has a completion percentage of 74.2, which is near the top of the country. And that's really good. I guess they just haven't had to throw the ball that much. But J.J. McCarthy is a Phil General type of player, and he usually makes the right plays, even if they only pass for like 100 yards in a game. But that Michigan offense, I'd say, is all around solid. But if Alabama wants to win this game, they will need to be very tough on the front seven. And they will also need Jalen Milroe to be efficient and make the right plays on the offensive side at the quarterback position. And Jalen Milroe can be a very dangerous quarterback. And he can throw the ball deep. And he can really run the ball if he needs to. And Michigan has shown a bit of weakness in their pass defense. I mean, look at what Tualia Tagovailoa and that Maryland passing attack did to Michigan. Tagovailoa passed for nearly 250 yards, and they had a shot to win the game. But ultimately, Tagovailoa had crucial mistakes that cost them the game. But there's no denying that Michigan rush defense is very tough. But their pass defense has shown some weaknesses. I mean, even Kyle McCord for Ohio State passed for 278 on them. That Michigan secondary does have some red flags. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not even saying it's not good. But I wouldn't say it's elite. And we gotta look at every aspect of the game when it comes to big matchups, like the game between Alabama and Michigan. And Jalen Milroe could attack that secondary and make it a long day for Michigan. But we could see Jalen Milroe struggle because of the lack of big games. But he already did play a decent game against a team like Georgia in a big game. So I definitely believe in the kid and his ability to be clutch and make the plays even if it's not perfect. But we'll see what happens. This should be a game of chess between these two teams. But the X factor for Michigan may actually be J.J. McCarthy, because Alabama was very tough up front against Georgia, and we are going to need to see this offense play their best game, and that means we need to see J.J. McCarthy play elite football and pass the ball well, maybe for over 200 yards. But it's going to be interesting. Are they going to need to pass the ball with a running back like Blake Corum? I don't know. But we might need to see J.J. McCarthy play really good football. There's so many different scenarios for this game, and this game could end up going either way. But one guy that may really stand out is Coach Harbaugh for Michigan, because we may be wondering how big of an impact will he play in this game, and it could definitely make a difference having him back in this game to be coaching and in the feel of the game. But this game is very unpredictable, but having Jim Harbaugh back should help Michigan. But it is time to give my prediction for the Rose Bowl between Alabama and Michigan, and I do have Alabama winning this game 31-28. And like I said, this is very unpredictable, and I think there's actually a case for Michigan, and they might just win it. But I actually do think Alabama will pull out the win in this game, and I cannot bet against Nick Saban and Alabama even if they are the underdogs. And that's just a huge part of the reason I'm picking Alabama, and experience has to do with it. And I mean, Michigan has lost every playoff matchup they've been in, and I think Alabama is definitely the best bet for this game, and it makes sense to pick them. How can you bet against them? Nick Saban is the better coach than Harbaugh, and I think Alabama will go to another national championship, and maybe they'll just win it. But I won't tell you my prediction on the national championship yet, and I will save that for another video. But this game between Alabama and Michigan should be awesome, and I cannot wait. This is basically an end of an era with the 4-team college football playoff coming to an end, and starting next year, we will see the start of the 12-team playoff and also the start of new conference realignment and big-time money-making matchups. It's all going to be crazy, and despite some of the conference realignment stuff being kind of weird and it really doesn't make any sense, I'm definitely hyped for some of the games we will have. I mean, just looking at the teams that I was talking about today in Michigan and Alabama, imagine some of the games we will have with them. Imagine Michigan versus Oregon, or Michigan versus Washington. Imagine Alabama versus Texas, because that game may just turn into a rivalry game. Imagine these teams end up playing in a rematch in the national title. Wouldn't that just be a crazy rematch between Texas and Alabama? That game would be history making. But anyways, that is going to do it for the video. I will be previewing the game between Texas and Washington tomorrow, so tune in for that video. But let me remind you guys to like the video, and if you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel, and also turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. If you guys love college football, then this is the right channel for you, and we post a ton on this channel, and I do enjoy all the support I get. We are now on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and thanks to everyone who has subscribed to the channel. But we have bigger things planned, and I love making these videos for you guys, and peace out.